Welcome everyone to Feature Presentation with Derek Diamond, where every week we take a deep dive into the trenches of independent filmmaking. I am your host, Derek Diamond, and it's great to be back here on the podcast. It feels like it's been forever since I've done an official episode, but we are back. The show will be live every Monday night on YouTube at 8 p.m. Central Time, where we'll have a different guest from the world of independent filmmaking. And I'm excited to welcome as my very first guest, fellow local Gulf Coast filmmaker, Mr. Kalvo Griffin. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And I've been excited to chat with you on the show for multiple reasons. You know, we'll get into Gulf culture or Gulf Coast. What was the name again?
Gulf Coast Culture Fest.
Gulf Coast Culture Fest. Sorry,
I know it's a tongue tie.
I
stumble all the time.
I did another podcast earlier, so I'm a little wiped out. So Shannon Williams, another local filmmaker, is watching. Says
great.
Congratulations on your new program. So yeah, Shannon's been. I think he's been waving the podcasting flag for me for the last few years. So excited to have you here. So I know we've had a couple of interactions. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, we met back in 2019, I think, at a filmmaking panel that was during the summer. And I believe that's where we actually met. And I know we've had a couple of conversations, but I don't know a ton about your story. So we'll start off with, what was it that initially made you want to get into the crazy world of filmmaking?
So it's crazy how it all started. So my background is in broadcast journalism. So what kind of brought me to the Gulf Coast was I was working at WEAR, the local ABC affiliation TV station. And so I was working there, and one of my coworkers, John White, some people are familiar with him who are tuning in on the show. He's a local filmmaker from Pensacola. He was just really getting into film. And so crazy story. So I had this crazy experience at Planet Fitness one time. And so we were working together, and I told him about this experience. And then the next thing I know, like, he comes up to me, he's like, "Hey, you want to turn this into a short film?" And I had never in my life done film before. I had minored for a little bit in acting in college because I was real big in theater through high school and college. So I was like, well, I've never done film before, but I go into you and we kind of turn this into a short film. And so we did. And that was really what just kind of like sparked the fire in me. And I've been kind of just really, that was my introduction into film. And everyone who has done theater crossing over into film, it's a totally different world. And so just being able to kind of like just see the specifics in the production and everything involved in it just really kind of just lit my fire. And it really just kind of started me on my film journey. And I've been kind of making short films and doing production ever since then.
Well, that's great in the sense that, I've heard so many people in conversations that I've had on previous podcasts that made the transition from theater to film. They say it's very different, but especially from the acting side, it can almost in a way be a huge help, because I've had so much respect for years of those who work in theater, specifically in acting, because you're up on stage without a safety net. If you're on set and you're an actor and you flub your line, you can always do another take, but you almost have to make the mistake part of the show if you're in theater. And it's also great to hear, because I've always been curious, because there's not really a how-to book when it comes to getting into film. Everybody kind of has their own story and that little spark, and it's almost like you just know it whenever it happens. So that's awesome to hear. And I know I was looking at your IMDb and just saw, pretty extensive list of work that you've done. But that's the ultimate way of how to get better, is you have to actually do it. It's like, it's like everything else. It's all about repetition.
That's true. And consistency. So yeah, I agree.
So when you first started getting into film, was there a specific aspect of it that you wanted to do, or did you just want to dive in and just learn everything?
So when I first started, I just wanted to dive in and learn everything. I really didn't want to be an actor in film when I first started out. I love acting. I feel like I'm a great actor, but then I realized that just acting, you know what's for you and what's not for you. And for me, it was just like, all right, like I know this is not what's really for me. It's a passion of mine, but like I realized that I was kind of better showing people how to act than acting myself. So that kind of like led me into being a director, and I started directing. And I have like with my background in journalism, I did a lot of writing. So I started like trying to figure out how to learn how to write scripts and format scripts, and from there just kind of like being more involved into film and being on larger sets. I got interested in just trying to learn, a little bit of everything, just 'cause I feel like you can never have too much knowledge, So I just kind of like started diving in, sticking my hands in different areas. And just like I feel like most filmmakers just trying to figure out what was best for me, and yeah, just kind of going from there.
I feel like that should be on a shirt, on a plaque, everything. You can never have too much knowledge.
Yeah.
Is there a favorite aspect of yours? You mentioned directing, writing. Is there a certain aspect of it that you enjoy more than others?
I love directing. Um, it's not for the faint of heart. I will say that. Uh, everyone kind of like has this aspiration of just wanting to be a director, but when you direct it, it's a whole nother shift. But I just love that, just kind of being able one to just kind of like direct the actors and the emotion, and then just kind of like being able to like bring this creative vision to life from start to finish. And it's amazing, and it's something that I really am into.
You really do get a certain level of satisfaction that I don't think you can get with any other aspect of the filmmaking industry. Because with the Parker syndrome, I had never directed anything before. I'd never written anything before either, and
Really?
it was really. I remember the first day we were on set. We filmed, the one scene with the whole Parker family. We did that first, and
Hmm.
I just remember almost having a panic attack before we started. Like we started late, and part of it was because of me, because I just because I grew up with pretty severe social anxiety, so it's
Hmm.
almost like those kind of built up. But once we started rolling, I started gaining more confidence, and that's something that
Hmm.
you have to find as a director, because you're looked at as the one in charge of everything. Even if you didn't write the script,
Yeah.
everyone looks at the director as kind of being the go-to person. So it can be very intimidating. Like you said, it's not for the faint of heart, but I feel like you get no other amount of satisfaction when you can successfully direct your own project.
Hmm. I definitely agree. It's just like, and just for me, it's like being able to just see like for especially for the stuff that I've done personally, and stuff even for the stuff that I've directed some script that I didn't actually write, but like just being able to see like what started as just like this just small idea blossom into like life. And I have a friend that told me that like a film is never what it starts out to be, but ends up being bigger than what it should be. And I definitely believe that. Like you start off with just a small idea, and then once you bring your actors and the cinematography and just the whole production into it, it just really just blossoms into something big. And yeah, like you said, you do just get this satisfaction from it. It is no better feeling than that.
When you also bring up a great point as well, in the sense that every movie, whether it's a feature or a short, you can almost look at as a miracle in a way, because it takes a village to
It
make a movie
does.
happen. And it's great to work with people that they might be from different backgrounds, different religious beliefs. You may not
Hmm.
agree with them on a single point, but everyone works together to make a film happen. And that's honestly my favorite aspect of filmmaking. And I don't consider myself to be a very sociable person at all, but I love the collaboration and working with other people. And what's great about the film scene that we have here in Pensacola,
Hmm.
there are so many talented people, from cinematographers to writers, directors, and there's still a long list of people that I haven't had the chance to work with yet, that I want to, because I think as a filmmaker, you should always look to surround yourself with people who know more than you, because that's how you're going to
That's
learn.
true. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, because it's not a, and it shouldn't be an ego thing. Like, you should want to learn more and get better, and that's how you get better. But I did want to ask you about a specific project that I watched earlier today, um, Fragrance of Misconception.
Okay, yeah.
So I looked at the IMDb and I saw your name on quite a few of the credits of things that you did. You did a lot from a cinematographer, editing, directing. What was that like for you to shoulder so much responsibility for this project?
So, Fragrance of Misconception was actually like my first short film. And
Oh
so,
wow.
yeah, it is. uh, and that film actually started Brittany Lee, who was in your film, The
Mm-hmm.
Parker Syndrome.
Yep.
Amazing actress. Brittany, shout out to you if you're watching. But no, you know how it is, just kind of like starting off your first short film, being an independent filmmaker. At that point in time, I was just diving in. I didn't really know much of anything with film. I was just like, I wrote the script out, and if you watch the film, which I do recommend y'all to please check that out on YouTube. It's a film that kind of has a serious subject behind it. So, I kind of went at it a different way. So, that film, just diving into it, I didn't really know too many. I was fresh to the kind of still fresh to the Pensacola film scene, so I didn't know too many people to kind of reach out to at the time. So I just kind of like, I think most filmmakers just kind of put on multiple hats to just try to get the job done, and it really did come out well. And that was my first film, just really reaching out and working with local film talent as well as some of the crew who are from the Gulf Coast that I had never met prior to going into the film. And so, yeah, it was a scary experience, but it really turned out to be a beautiful thing. And I'm so like, that's you know how it is with, like you said, the Parker Syndrome being your first film, like that's my baby, And so yeah.
Yeah, it's the old saying's true. You never forget your first anything. And it's I watched the Parker Syndrome and I can almost see more flaws in it and things that I'd think, well, maybe I would have done it differently. But
Hmm.
honestly, I don't think I would have done anything differently because it was my first movie, and it's something that years from now hopefully after I do many more, it'll still hold that special place to me, as I'm sure this film does for you.
It does. And oh no, listen,
Oh no, go ahead.
oh no, I was just saying like it does. It really just it was a lot of mistakes in that film. Not just like, I feel like I made a lot of mistakes just in the production of it. It was a great film, but it's a film that I really learned a lot from. And I feel like, as filmmakers, we have those moments where you just have to kind of like mess up to learn. And it was just overall just experience for me. And I'm so grateful for it. I do occasionally go back and watch like old films. So I do occasionally watch, Ferguson and Misconception and some of the early ones that I did. And it's just good to me, going back looking at it, just kind of like seeing, okay, this is where I'm started. Like this was only a few years ago. Like this is where I started from, and just to see like where I'm at now. I really have a saying that I just go by, like, trust the process and enjoy the journey, but never forget where you started from and never forget where you're going. And so yeah.
Well, because if you don't learn from your earlier mistakes, you're just going to keep
Hmm.
repeating them. But that to me is another great thing about filmmaking is that sometimes half the fun is learning by messing up because
It is.
it's the best way to learn because if you don't make the mistake, then you're going to just repeat it and you're not going to really learn anything from it. And every in my next project I'll learn something else that I should have done better. And then the next one after that, I'm sure it'll continue on and on. What was the biggest lesson you learned from Fragrance of Misconception?
That's a uh from a technical standpoint, have a good mic. But just from an overall standpoint, it's just trust your village, really. It was my first time working with people who I had not worked with before. And so you really just have to find and just trust your village and know that like they'll believe in your vision as much as you believe it because they came on to support it. And yeah, that's that's one that I think something that I really just kind of hold on to from that film.
And it can be tough sometimes because if you have such a specific vision, it can be tough to hand it over to someone and trust them to carry it out. But it's something that you have to do. And as someone, because with the Parker syndrome, I juggled a lot of responsibilities too with writing,
Hmm.
directing it. I also wound up editing the project,
Hmm.
which was, I'd never edited a legit short film before, so that was something else
Same
that I
here.
that I learned too. So I'm like, this isn't just throwing a 30-second spot together. This is this is something from audio mastering to I had Kevin Almodovar do the color correction, which he did a
Oh,
phenomenal
he's
job for.
great.
Yeah, I tell people this, he should be like on Hollywood sets
He
shooting
should.
big budget movies. He is that good.
Every time I I love everything that he does. I'm a big fan of his.
Oh, me too. As soon as I watch a short film and I see his name in the credits, I know it's going to be good because him and Steve Wise have been the biggest helps to me as far as
Mm,
me growing as a filmmaker because they've both shown me you know, different sides to projects and
mhm.
how to look at things from a visual standpoint and from a writing standpoint. If anybody in the Pensacola area has never reached out to pick their brains or had the chance to meet them, you definitely should because they're up there on my list of your best filmmakers in the area.
I agree. Shout
Uh,
out to Steve Wise too.
Yeah, absolutely. No, he's funny enough. I sent him my for those who are watching live or the day it comes out. I sent him my latest script, and he yesterday, and he gave me so much great feedback. But that's he's just such a great resource like that, and he's just a good person too, which makes it all the better. As a filmmaker, when you're getting a project together, what do you look for in a crew? Oh, Steve is actually watching. He just commented. Thanks, guys. Awesome.
Oh,
Hey, Steve. So, as a filmmaker, what do you look for in a crew when you're getting a project together?
um, really just well, let's see. When I'm looking for people, I kind of like look for people who are hungry. Like I love people that have a drive about them. They don't have to be, the best person on the set, but like as long as they have like a good drive about them and they're excited to just kind of work on sets, like and have a good attitude. That's like two of the main things I look for. Because I'm like, uh, especially with my projects, I'm still learning. I feel like I'm welcome to everyone who just wants to learn something new. If you want to get involved, like I would love to have you. And so yeah, those are like the main things I look for when I'm kind of like picking out crew.
I agree. You gotta, and it's. We were talking earlier about how when you're directing and you successfully direct a project, that there can be no greater satisfaction. But something I think that is in that same league is when you have a crew that you can tell is just as passionate for the project as you. When you can tell that they
Hmm.
care, it almost reaffirms you that I didn't spend months working on this script for nothing. I didn't spend all this extra time getting a crew together, finding locations. It wasn't all for nothing. Like they love it, and it makes me love it even more.
Hmm. Yeah, because the last big project that I shot was a proof of concept for a horror web series I'm getting ready to start working on later on this summer. And that crew, I had a full crew, but every person on that crew I had never worked with prior to before. But they just came in, they believed in my vision and were passionate about the project, had great attitudes and just like a hunger and just kind of like drive about them. And I'm very excited for how that project turned out.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of that on IMDb, so I'm very curious to see what that's all about. So let's talk about Gulf Coast Culture Fest. So coming
Okay.
up this weekend is the second annual. Gulf Coast Culture Fest. So, what was the inspiration behind wanting to do this? Because I feel like almost every weekend, if I happen to go downtown or somewhere in Pensacola, I feel like there's always some kind of event or festival going on, but there's never really been anything for the arts and the film side of things. But
Mhm.
you have successfully done that. So, what was the inspiration behind the festival?
So funny enough, the idea first hit me in 2020. Sadly, during the George Floyd protests that were happening in the city, I was one of the photographers just kind of covering it, the different marches and the protests and everything. But while being out there, I just was able to witness this beauty in the madness of just the whole community just coming together for like one purpose, just kind of like for justice, basically. But like I saw people from like different backgrounds, different cultures, different age groups, just kind of like all in one spot, just kind of like fighting and celebrating justice. Not, I just like, well, like this is such a beautiful sight just to kind of see like everyone come together. And so then I started thinking like, what can I do like to kind of bring everyone together for like a positive, purpose. And so I started like, well, I just do like just a little fun day in the park kind of thing. And it just kind of just blossom from there. And where the arts kind of come in is that, well, I was like, all right, like how can I get thinking about bringing everyone together, like how can I like successfully bring everyone together? So like an arts festival, but not just like visual art, but like music, dance, poetry, theater. And I was just thinking like, as far as different cultures and understanding each other, like art is a way that we really like express ourselves, and it's just a way that we can understand self-expression. And because I was just, I think during the time there was an opera going on downtown, and I was like, people go to operas all the time, and they might not necessarily like understand like the words or like what the opera singers are saying, but you can feel like that passion, and you understand like the culture of the opera and just like that background. So I was like, well, we'll just kind of like build a arts festival, just kind of celebrating everyone. And so then I was like, all right, well, it's a celebration of culture, just call it Gulf Coast Culture Fest. And so I just started that, and it was a celebration. Well, it is a celebration of diversity and inclusion just along the Gulf Coast, just really just not celebrating one specific audience or thing, but just everything as a whole. Just like no one is excluded from this festival. Like it's a celebration for us, like all of us. And I just really just wanted to come together and just celebrate community unity and just allow everyone to just have like a rejuvenating day of just celebrating. I feel like we all deserve to be celebrated, and especially like coming out of everything that took place in 2020 from racial and political tension, and then the pandemic. I feel like we're still kind of like on the edge of it, but just kind of like everything that took place and within the pandemic, just having everyone just kind of come together and celebrate each other. So yeah, I
No,
mean, and then like, oh,
no, go ahead.
and then so like as far as like doing the arts, I was like, all right, so I got my art, singing, dancing, music, theater. But I'm like, I'm a filmmaker. Like I gotta find a way to kind of bring the film community in this somehow. And so that's where started off as Gulf Coast Short Film Fest as a part of Gulf Coast Culture Fest as a way to kind of like highlight different filmmakers in the area. And it started off as a film scramble because that's how I really got my start. The film that I told you that I made with John White was for a film scramble. So like that's how I got my start. So I was like, why not make and provide the opportunity that were provided to me for other upcoming filmmakers or filmmakers who are already there, just kind of like get that spark back coming out of the pandemic. And that's where it just kind of led to where we are now.
I remember hearing about it last year. I wasn't able to go to it, but I just
Hmm.
remember hearing, all the positivity that came from it. And it reminds me of when I travel to different places, I like to almost immerse myself in the culture, even if it's, somewhere like Nashville or Dallas, Texas, or San Diego. To me, it's almost rejuvenating to learn something about something that's completely different from me or
Hmm.
anything that I've experienced. So I think providing something like that for this area is great because everybody should aspire to learn something different or learn about a culture that's completely different from what you're used to, because it's such a big world
Hmm.
out there. And I think everybody should at least have an understanding of other cultures and what goes on, even if it's something that's, that you're not a part of.
Hmm.
Feeling included and learning new things and understanding new things is, to me, something that we should all aspire to do. So I think it's great that you've provided that, from art to dancing and film, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to take part in it this weekend. I've been looking forward to it now for, I remember since seeing the date of, Gulf Coast Culture Fest is back. I'm like, oh yeah, I missed out on that. I'm not missing out on it this year. So
Yeah, I'm really excited. Last year it was just a complete success. And so and it's just it was it was risk doing first year events. And then we were still kind of like more so in the pandemic last year too, kind of sort of, but it really was a complete success. So I'm really just excited about just bringing it back this year and having the community come out and support.
absolutely. So the event is it's 8 to 6
Hmm.
at
Yeah,
Bartram Park,
so
right?
so it's a two-part event. So we'll be at Seville Square from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then during this time, we'll have a whole bunch of live entertainment, vendors, food trucks, and that's where like the real celebration part goes. And then after 6 p.m., we'll kind of migrate across the street to Bartram Park, and then we'll have the films, what's called Films for the Culture Film Scramble, which is showcase different films from local filmmakers from across the Gulf Coast and just kind of celebrate the film community in Barton Park. Just kind of what I like to have, a movie night under the stars in the park. Have to kind of set the scene. But yeah, yeah.
No, I'm really excited. I'm really excited for the film portion as well, but just to see all the different representations and everything. I'm excited to see, like, and I almost don't want to know every detail that's going on because I want to experience it all firsthand. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I really appreciate that you came up with this and was able to successfully do it.
Thank you, thank you. I thank you. I'm just thankful for the support.
Absolutely. A couple more questions before we get out of here. What is the biggest lesson that you've learned as a filmmaker?
Oh, don't quit your day job. No, I'm just joking. Don't do it. If you want to do film, don't do it. It is a curse. It will take over your life. No, but seriously, one of the biggest lessons that I've learned from filmmaking, um, hmm, so film kind of similar to you. I'm like kind of I might seem like filmmaking has really just allowed me to grow and mature. Um, I am kind of like, I wouldn't say like I'm an introvert, but I do tend to be kind of shy in some social settings. And so it really just allowed me to step out and like build my confidence and put myself out there more and just kind of learn and work with different people. It really taught me life lessons, time management. Time management is like the biggest thing filmmaking taught me because if you've ever worked on the set, like you have deadlines that you have to reach as far as like shooting stuff at certain locations. And then just kind of like communication, like it really taught me to like grow in my communication skills, especially as a director, because I have to like really just communicate and like not my vision. I have to just kind of like yeah, just communicate it and make sure people are able to understand like what the vision is. And so those are some of the things that really tend to stand out when I think about like my biggest lessons from filmmaking as of right now.
Yeah, you can't be bad at time management if you're a director and AD. If you're in charge of just keeping the momentum going, you can't be bad at time management. Because I remember when we were shooting the Parker Syndrome on the first day, we had one outdoor scene to shoot, but we had to do it at a certain time. because the
Mm,
one of the actors couldn't make it to set until early afternoon, and this was in December when it gets dark at 4:30
mm.
in the afternoon. So it's like we only have so much daylight to get this done. But thankfully we were able to do it. But I also have Steve and Kevin to thank for that as well. What is one piece of advice that you would give if someone comes up to you and says, Calvo, I want to be a filmmaker? What is one piece of advice that you would give them?
As simple as it sounds, just do it. I think that like a lot of people look at filmmaking and think about obstacles. Like, I don't have a great camera. Like, I'm not good at script writing. Like, I don't have the top-notch A-list actors. Like, my if I make something, it's not gonna look like what it is on TV. Like, no, just do it. When I started off, we had like we did not have a great camera. It was just you just did it. Like, we just didn't know. I didn't know how to write scripts because I didn't have any film. I didn't go to film school. I didn't have a background. I just did it. And the more you do it, the better you get. You make mistakes, you learn from it, and then you build a self momentum from what you're doing, and then other people recognize, and then it's always good to like reach out and ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to, like, if you want to film at a location, just ask, just do it. It sounds like a Nike commercial, but that's exactly what it is to me. Uh, don't be afraid. Like, you never know how whatever you're trying to convey in your film will impact other people. And so, yeah, just don't be afraid. Just go out there and just do it.
And even if you don't have any kind of camera, you can make a movie with
Off your
this.
iPhone,
Yeah,
yes.
great movies have been made with an iPhone. We have that technology, and like you said, it's even if it doesn't look like, you know, the Avengers or Jurassic World or some big blockbuster. You learn by doing.
Hmm.
If you wanna write a novel, you write.
Like,
If you
yeah,
if you want to be a painter, you paint. If you want to make films, make films. So I couldn't have said it better myself.
yeah. That's the
Uh,
best advice I can give.
yep, absolutely. I totally agree. What's your all-time favorite movie?
Ooh. So, as like childish as it may sound, The Lion King is my all-time favorite. The original Lion King
Yep.
is my all-time favorite movie. It's like it's that one movie I could just watch all the time. It's an animated movie, but like I'm a big Lion King fanatic.
Well, I think especially from our generation, that was the one of the peaks of animation with that,
Mhm.
Aladdin and Toy Story that came out after that. We were spoiled when we were younger with animated movies. We just had great ones after great ones. But no, Lion King it's a beautiful movie. It's despite the fact that it's animated. Like there have been
I
some of the best
know.
movies ever were animated. So
What is
I
your favorite movie, might I ask?
Oh yeah, if we're talking live action, that I would
Okay,
say
yeah.
either The Empire Strikes Back, because I'm a huge Star Wars fan.
Mhm.
Uh, Clerks is up there because that's what kind of inspired me to think, okay, well maybe I can do this because of Kevin Smith and the story and everything that he went through to make that
Mhm.
movie happen. Animated would probably be Aladdin.
Oh, now that's my second favorite.
Everybody like from our generation, their favorite's either The Lion King or Aladdin, and the number two is the other one.
So, live action, I would probably say, Batman Returns.
Ooh,
I
I like
know.
Batman Returns a lot.
And so Tyler Perry's real big, and so
Mhm.
I really like Tyler Perry's second film. It's called Medea's Family Reunion. It just has like a really good storyline to it and art, and so yeah, that's probably one of my top favorite movies as well.
If you want to be inspired, look up Tyler Perry's story and
Yes.
everything that he's done for the Atlanta area. It's really inspiring stuff. But last thing before we get out of here, do you have a
Okay.
website or social media that you want to plug, and how can people find out more about Gulf Coast Culture Fest?
Yeah, so everyone, please feel free to follow me on. You can follow me on Facebook. Uh, I have a lot of social media, so you can follow me on Facebook personally under Kalvo Griffin, or you can follow me on Instagram under King Kalvo KingKalv006, and then you can also follow my production company Force Studios on both Instagram and Facebook. And Force is spelled FORC3, so it's like Force with a three studios. And you can follow me there on, like I said, on Facebook and Instagram. And then for more information about Gulf Coast Culture Fest, please follow us on Facebook and both Instagram under the same name, Gulf Coast Culture Fest. And then if you have any more questions or need any more information, please feel free to visit our website at gulfcoastculturefest.com.
Fantastic. Calvo, thank you so much for taking the time to
Thank
have
you
this
for having
conversation.
me.
It's been great, because I know we've had a few interactions since we met, but I haven't really got to hear your full story. So this was fantastic.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate the opportunity and the invite for just being coming on. This was great. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to follow this show, go to linktree.com/featureprezpod. You can go there to subscribe to YouTube, Facebook, all social medias, everywhere that the podcast is available. You can do that. Let me go ahead and play my outro music here. You can follow the show on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at FeaturePrezPod. New episodes drop every Monday night, 8 p.m. Central Time on YouTube. Just subscribe to Feature Presentation, and we'll be back here next Monday at 8 p.m. with a brand new episode. Sweet. And we are out.
Okay. Well,
Awesome.
yeah, thank you for having me. This was great.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so sorry I flubbed the name of